Disclaimer: the speed paint featured in this video is gory and maybe too graphic for some viewers.
Peter, the horse is here.
What's shaking, y'all? I'm Quake. Now, I may be a little late to the party, but today I'd like to talk about the recent trend trotting across the TikTok For You pages and the Instagram reels of the unsuspecting masses, My Little Pony Infection AUs. For those of you internet goers who've just been living under a rock and my poor, unsuspecting family members who just want to support me and my weird little interests and ambitions, the acronym AU stands for Alternate Universe. My Little Pony was that cute horse show that aired from 2010 to 2019 on the Hub Network, and the infections themselves differ from creator to creator. Back around 2012 to 2016, roughly estimating, I did watch My Little Pony and I liked it, and thankfully I did not encounter those bronies or interact with anything related during my unsupervised internet time as a 12-year-old. The bronies didn't get to me, but Amino, the FNAF fandom, the Undertale fandom, and a dash on Homestuck did. This ain't about that, though. Getting around age 14, I knew of the MLP gore stuff and creepypastas, though I never really looked into them. I did watch Pony.mov, though. It wasn't traumatizing to me, I just thought it was funny. I only first watched Smile HD by Mr. Davey, you know that animation, within the past year or two. I stayed away from most MLP content, so I don't have this deep connection with the show and whatnot, but I do remember enjoying every episode I watched as a tiny human. Pinkie Pie was my favorite, she just liked me for real. Fun fact about me though, I love the genre of horror that takes something that's supposed to be childlike, cute, and or wholesome and turns it into something awful. To clarify, I'm not talking about mascot horror specifically, but that genre is also one that I enjoy. So objectively speaking, it was only a matter of time before there was some good quality MLP horror stuff that was placed underneath a metaphorical box propped up on a stick for me to fall for. Well, the stick was pulled, the box trapped me, and I've gone down the rabbit hole. Warning. Warning. The remainder of this video will contain mentions and illustrative depictions of gore, illness/infection, and other subjects that are not suitable for relatively squeamish audiences. I will be dancing around the actual words for some of these to avoid YouTube smiting me. If there somehow was an artist whose art was featured in this video that I had neglected to credit, please let me know so I can fix that. First off, why have people been drawn to these AUs recently? The answer to this question is pretty simple, actually. Remember 2020? Yeah. The big sick trademark of 2020 that traumatized every person on this earth exposed to it and caused different forms of digital media to climb the ladder? Yeah. That kind of large-scale quarantine and subsequent social isolation is something that people remember, and some are still processing it. It kind of felt like the world was ending. Huh. Post-apocalyptic and apocalyptic media are already pretty popular, but with the popularity of shows and games like The Last of Us, for example, it's no surprise that people have become inspired. Analog horror has also been rising in popularity recently, which is great for the short-form content loop of sites and apps like TikTok and Instagram. Crossovers are common in media and even more so in the online fan spaces, so wham bam thank you ma'am, I clearly failed the segue exam. Globally unifying, traumatizing experience involving infection and sickness, plus apocalypse, plus zombies, plus analog horror potential, divided by crossovers, x wholesome family friendly show, equals MLP Infection AU popularity. Typically, the AU's posts will follow a slideshow, found footage, or comic format. The slideshows usually have illustrations or edited images of the characters with lists of their stats like health, sanity, consciousness, etc. The found footage type content usually has short animations of characters looking pretty gnarly and uncanny. The comics that I've seen are really well formatted too. The infections themselves are pretty freaking creative, and are either inspired from the show, involve parasites, or inspired by real-world things like the cordyceps fungus, for example. The MLP Infection AU community, yes, I'm calling it that, is growing still. The creator whom is widely credited with the AU that started it all is known as Oshushot on TikTok. Today I'll be discussing my personal favorites that I've stumbled upon. Oshushot's Pest-obia. Essentially, in this AU, Pest-obia is a mind and flesh-eating disease that was at one point thought to be the common cold. It is spread via airborne pathogens and parasite exposure to open wounds. The symptoms include those associated with the common cold, bruising of the skin, dramatic changes in behavior, incoherent speech, physical deformities, change in appetite, and bone visibility. The format is one of the earlier mentioned and most iconic, the slideshows. I don't really have much to say about this AU. It is the one that started it all, so I feel an obligation to talk about it. Of course, it's not bad by any means. At ETC, etc's Divine Swamp Fever. In this AU, which is incredibly popular, partly due to some memes, the whole shining armor, happy to see his baby girl thing, includes an infection that is inspired by the show itself. This is an evolved version of swamp fever, divine swamp fever, and is spread via spores that are released from the Tree of Harmony and bites from the infected. The infection starts with brain fog, loss of appetite, irritated eyes, and extreme thirst, moving on to stage 2 where they are now unable to eat anything and a black bile forms within them. Their brain fog worsens and they are no longer fully conscious, being trapped in their own mind. Stage 3 has the infected now constantly weeping bile and their respiratory and digestive systems erode as their bite wound rots. Mentally, they experience repeated memories while their bodies react on instinct. Outside stimuli can align with these memories and cause larger reactions. At stage 4, the infected's body is nothing but skin, bone, and bile. The bile begins to clot into soft root-like strands that harden a bit when exposed to air. The skin is now more fragile and the infected's body swells. At stage 5, the bile begins to root and the infected is now either extremely slowed or completely immobile. At stage 6, they are now imperfect trees, the perfect tree being the Tree of Harmony. ETC, etc., Chloe, animates their AU found footage styles, and when I first found their videos, I won't lie, they actually creeped me out. In this AU, from what I understand, Shining Armor was quarantined and broke out, just wanting to see his wife and child again, not understanding the fact that he's in incredible danger to them now.
Believe what you see.
I especially love the art style and the animation style of this AU, the wiggly horses. I love them. I love them. At Misgendered's Everfree Infection. This AU story is told partially with slideshows and partially with comics. Inspired by the cordyceps fungus, rabies, and chronic wasting disease, this infection is also spread partially by spores and partially by bites, carrying the spores, I assume. The spores have to be removed or washed off within an hour of contact, or basically all hope is lost. Abandon the hope, all ye who enter here. At stage 1, the infected is not contagious and is lethargic with loss of appetite. At stage 2, the infection really starts to show. Branches begin to sprout from the spine as extreme discomfort and pain results from it. The mental state of the infected deteriorates, and there's rapid weight loss regardless of food or water intake. At stage 2, the infected is likely to lash out. At stage 3, the branches grow and begin to release spores. The infected experiences extreme thirst, and if they use magic, it is likely to go haywire. The infected's bones begin to extend as new joints seem to form as the branches spread underneath the skin. The body now rejects all liquids, regardless of source. It is advised that you do not approach them as they will attack. At stage 4, they are highly contagious. The story of this AU is not complete at the moment, but from what I understand, the whole thing started when Fluttershy went to collect what she thought were nettles, they were infected branches, to treat an animal, an animal's wounds, and it has Discord to give it a little boost with magic for the treatment, and it ended up resulting in Twilight getting infected and going missing. The story is really intriguing, and I implore you to check out the AU for yourself. The art style is so good, so fitting, and the simplicity of the designs really, like, adds to it, adds to the horror. It's great. At the portals opens the Rapture. This AU has to be the most original and creative idea for an MLP AU that I've seen so far. This one is, of course, based on the Rapture. This one seems to be less of an infection, per se, but I'm including it anyway because I love it. I mean, look! The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse! How cool and how fitting is that? It's a horse show, the Horsemen. Why haven't I seen this before? The production of this AU is done via comics, and the creator makes all the music besides that first video explaining the Four Horsemen themselves.
The International Canterlet Safety System has issued a public safety warning for the following counties: Ponyville, Canterlet, Philadelphia, Manhattan, Vancouver, Baltimore, and Dodge City, effective until to be announced. At 6 a.m. today, we have issued a safety warning in regards to spreading tension in several regions of Equestria. A travel advisory has been placed on all northern regions of Equestria. If you or a loved one need to travel somewhere, please let your regional guards know where you plan to go and what you plan to do. Any suspicious ponies will be immediately detained and held for questioning until the warning is over, unless having a travel pass. Be advised as who you let into your home, and do not interact with any strange ponies.
I'm so excited to see how this whole thing turns out, and I'm waiting with bated breath. The craftsmanship with this one, the music, the everything, it's so good. There are many more of these AUs out there, but I figured I'd go over the first one and some of my favorites. I implore you to, if you want to, go support and follow these amazing artists and their content. A little note at the end of the video here: if you notice my voice being different from the last video, it's due to two things: a new microphone and the fact that I put a lot less effort into stifling my accent. When I focus on my diction too much, I tend to stutter and trip over my words. With that, I hope y'all have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I bid you a hopefully temporary farewell.